It's a city of people, it's a city of culture, it's Glasgow, and it proudly welcomes thousands of visitors every year. The Shetland Times keeps up with one of their own who made the over 350-mile journey to get here.
I'm from Dresden, Shetland, and I moved here to do mechanical engineering at Strathclyde. I chose Glasgow because the Strathclyde was the best uni amongst the ones I received offers for mechanical engineering. So.
The Royal College, which is one of the oldest buildings on campus, it's probably the original Strathclyde. It used to be the Polytechnic. It's where Strathclyde came from. It's where all the students get lost in first year. It's a very varied course, and I like the lectures as well because there's some of the lectures are really very good, and they make it very interesting. Well, Glasgow's interesting because there's just a variety of stuff that's going on. There's so many different cultures and things happening. It's always interesting. You never know quite what's going to happen. Just walking down the street and this guy's basically told us to go and have a look at the exhibition. They're doing histories and old photos and that kind of stuff. There's always something happening. Just been in the Panopticon, and there's sort of all sorts of random stuff going on. You never know what's happening in Glasgow. That's a sort of odd rehearsal, and there's somebody doing vintage photos. But we just dragged in off the street to have a look at that. So yeah, Glasgow's weird. Living in Glasgow, it's almost like you're anonymous because there's so many people. You're pretty cut off from the rest of society here because there's really no interaction with most people around you. There's a lot of multiculturalism down in Glasgow. Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of different kinds of people, and everybody's doing different things, and it's all a bit hectic, and there's no end to the amount of stuff you'll find down here. But back home it's wider and less focused, and here it's more focused. So if everyone's busy, then there's not much scope to. If you fancy a night out and everybody else is doing assignments, you're a bit stuck. I made a lot of friends last year in halls. Halls were great. I was in a flat of 6, and we all got on really well, which I know doesn't happen to everybody. I'm a member of the jazz orchestra up at the Union. It's a sort of 2-hour session on a Wednesday night, and they do occasional gigs within the Union. Student Union, and I come here every Wednesday to play with the jazz band. Quite a good hobby. It's one of the societies, there's practice for 2 hours and then we all go out to the pub. It's a good society. So tonight we're playing at the Union. This is the jazz band, and we're providing some music for the awards ceremony for the Union Awards. If I say I'm from Shetland, people will, oh, where's that? And they'll you've got all kinds of silly stuff. I once got which train do you take to get there, and you're like, people don't tend to understand where it is, or they don't quite understand how far away it is, or how split off it is. And it annoys me when you hear people that'll think about Brexit or independence and say, oh well, if you voted the wrong way, you must be a racist or a bigot or a xenophobe, and there's some genuinely very if you take back home, there's a lot of people. The fishing's a big thing, and there's a lot of the people who are in fishing who are very against the EU for their own reasons. It doesn't do them good. So there's a kind of a narrow-mindedness about some of these issues, and there's a lack of willingness to actually discuss some of those other points. There's the talk of the new referendum coming up, and there's always, I think politics now it's ruled really by the silent majority, because especially with things like Brexit and the independence referendum, there's that sort of very vocal group, but it doesn't, because it's vocal doesn't necessarily mean it's big. It just, so I don't know, I can't be bothered with another one. I wouldn't mind so much if I was back home because it's not really such an issue, but here it causes division, which is a really unfortunate thing. I mean, you still see people with yes stickers in their windows and on their cars, and I've got nothing against that, and I am pretty neutral on these things, and I just see it as prevarication. There's no. It's difficult just because when you're here, everybody is so passionate about it, and so, yeah, passion's a word for it, or they're very they're outspoken, they're quite intense, but I mean it's good, and there's so many really nice people. They're all really friendly, but you've just got to get past that first initial, because I mean back home, like I say, people do tend to be a bit more subdued, a bit more kind of reserved, and it's a bit of a kind of a barrage at first. And I like how convenient everything is. So if you want to go and get bread or milk, or you've run out of something, or you want to go and see a new film, or everything's within walking distance. And there's a few things that I'm not so keen on. I'm very aware that it's not as safe. Like I don't feel unsafe in Glasgow, but you're a lot more aware of your surroundings. You're a lot more conscious of safety. I mean, put it like this: we had an incident a few weeks back. It was just coming to the end of a party. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning. We were just going to bed, and we were all aware of this burning smell. And there was an arsonist that had set fire to the bins right outside the flat. The fire got to be about the size of this room, and it was next to gas pipes. All the bins were just melted lumps in the morning. The whole, it was under an archway, and all the paint on the top of the arch had just it was absolutely destroyed. We had to phone the fire brigade and the police, and I mean they caught the guy, but it was that was quite a scary event. That wasn't so safe, because you do hear of people that get mugged or worse, and it's especially, I mean, I live right next to Glasgow Green, which is it's one of those areas that's perfectly nice in the daytime. At night time it's probably somewhere you don't want to go. Always make sure it's locked up, because there was a couple of robberies in this building. The bottom 2 flats got broken into, and there's been bikes stolen. Here it's quite a fast pace of life, everything's all go. Whereas back home it tends to be everything's a bit more chill. There's not the same. I think the density of people makes a big difference, because you know what I mean. And if I say this, there's the fact there's so many people in one place here. Everybody's kind of, the impression you get is everybody's always doing something. Life down in here, it's very different. There's a lot of different points to life. It's a different, it's a different lifestyle. It's a different. You get into different routines, you get into different habits with, say, shopping, because you don't, back home you'll tend to do a big shop in the week. Here, because I'm 5 minutes away from a little Tesco, you just get what you need as you need it. There's a lot of lifestyle differences, there's a lot of sort of cultural differences, but I think it's been a very positive thing for me moving down here, because it's shown me a different way to live. It's shown me a different set of people, it's a different setting, and I think it's definitely worth, for anybody swithering, it's definitely worth coming down and seeing a different way of life, and pushing past what you know, and that bit of independence. It's good, being that bit further away from home. I mean, I've never really been a homesick person, so I always dealt with that quite well. And everybody has a limit with that. So I mean, I never used to be a homesick person, because you'd go for a few weeks here, a few weeks there. But when it's for a whole year, you do start to realize, you start to miss home, or you start to see home in a different way. So I mean, my home is still Shetland. It's not. I wouldn't consider this home yet. But being away from a place certainly helps you see it in a clearer light. When you step away and you see the things you miss, you see the things you don't miss. You see, there's an element of growth that comes along with moving away and just starting up a new life somewhere else. I like Glasgow. I don't know if I could live here for the rest of my life. I think certainly I want to go back to Shetland at some point, but when and in what circumstances, I don't know.